So for the past month, I've been using the Avata 2 as my only drone. It's been really exciting and it's been the perfect intro into FPV flying. Like, these are the kind of shots that I wouldn't dare try and film with a traditional drone. This is easily the coolest drone I've flown in a long time. But was it impressive enough to make me want to switch and sell all my other drones? Let's find out. It's fast, it's acrobatic, and it actually makes you feel like you're soaring. From chasing rally cars, making construction sites and trains my playground, to swooping through the craziest obstacles, the Avata 2 has really opened my eyes to what was possible with a drone, and I haven't even scratched the surface with what this thing can do. The Avata 2 is pretty much perfect for exploring abandoned structures like this. I've been flying drones ever since the original Mavic in 2018, and each year their cameras get better, their flight time increases, and yet somehow they manage to also get smaller and smarter. Dang. But for the most part, unchanged is how they fly, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because one of the things that makes these drones so special is how smooth and easy they are to operate, especially for beginners. But at the same time, at least for me, that original excitement that you got with your first takeoff and flight has kind of worn off. Even 30 seconds into my first flight with the Avata 2, I quickly realized I've been missing out on an entirely different world of drones. So with this being my first FPV drone, it was unlike anything that I've flown for the past 6 years. I knew it wasn't going to be as easy as pulling it out of the box, turning it on, and starting to fly right away. But at the same time, I wanted to see what that fresh perspective would be like, so I kept tutorials to a minimum. For the most part, I really just followed along with the built-in tutorials on the headset.
I'm using the DJI Avata 2 Fly More battery combo, which goes for $11.99. This bundle includes the drone, 3 batteries, and a few other essentials. Now, if you're considering upgrading from the original Avata, or you already own a compatible RC controller and DJI goggles, you can save some money and just get the drone itself for $489. As far as other accessories, I'm also trying out the FPV RC controller, which on its own goes for $199.
This feels like a video game. As I'm going through these parts here, it's absolutely unlike anything I've done before. Instantly for me, the biggest thing switching to the Avata from your Mavic series drones is just how nimble this little thing is. It really feels like the drone is actually carving, following, and diving into those movements, unlike a traditional drone, which pretty much has the dimensions of just going up, down, left, right. It doesn't actually turn into it.
The DJI Avata 2 has a 12 megapixel 1/1.3 inch sensor. It can shoot 4K up to 60 frames per second. It has a max flight time of about 23 minutes, but that gets quickly cut down the harder you push it. Its top speed is a crazy 60 miles per hour when put in manual mode. The biggest thing I found myself quickly missing to my DJI Mavic Mini 3 Pro was that it comes with advanced obstacle avoidance sensors, not just on its front, but also on its back.
As I'm going around some of these obstacles and swerving around this pole here, as I complete that turn, it's times like this that I wish it did have the obstacle sensors at least on the sides, because even though I know I'm clear in front of me, to my sides, it's a lot more difficult to tell. But again, I'm really pushing myself to fly this in ways that I would never have even thought would be possible with drones before. Is using the Avata perfect for everything? No. Without its automated features like tracking and its ability to, again, give you those warnings that, oh, you're about to hit an obstacle. It's almost like shooting in manual with a traditional camera. It unlocks a whole other world of filmmaking. I know even in the worst case scenario, if I do crash, I'm gonna most likely be able to take off for another safe flight. Like, these are the kind of shots that I wouldn't dare try and film with a traditional drone, but it does require a lot of work. There's more time involved with really mastering this. But on the other hand, it feels a lot more rewarding to get that shot, especially in a location that you normally wouldn't be able to fly a drone. It really does feel like you're floating. Oh my God, this is so cool. Hello, cows. There's a white one and a black one. They don't even mind. The ability to have a live view of what I'm seeing right in my goggles really allows me to explore the area a lot more. The controller feels like an extension of me now, as opposed to me using it as a tool. Like, I really do feel like I am going through the building. I catch myself looking up all the time, as though like I'm physically moving up there. Even the goggles have their own set of fans because this thing gets hot. But look at all that sweat there.
Ew.
So coming from other drones, I'm a lot more used to using its traditional RC controller, which has the 2 thumbsticks. It was a lot easier to learn with this. And for the most part, I actually like flying with this. But for most people, you're probably going to be using, again, what I like to call it's Wiimote, it's motion controller. I'm starting to feel like I'm actually going through things now a lot better. So that's like the benefit here. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but I could see why some people argue that this is the more intuitive controller, especially for first-time drone users. It's because like, oh, I wanna go here, I wanna go here. I'm just pointing. You can take sharper movements here. You can really push the drone a lot easier. So some of the shots that you've been seeing so far are recorded through the goggles perspective, and that's really cool that you can get that. And of course, the goggles are a new experience for me too. But one of the things that makes it a little bit easier, especially when you want to look at what you're seeing and making sure that you maintain real live line of sight, is that it does have pass-through capabilities. So you can either toggle that with a double tap here on the side because it is touch, or you can use a double tap on the controller itself. I think it's going to be a while before I'm confident and comfortable enough to really take full advantage of it with the joystick, but I think I'm getting there. So I'll take this chance to swap out the battery. Compared to even the Mavic Mini series, these run through batteries a lot quicker. And if you're having fun with it, chances are you're draining through them even faster. So I do recommend at least picking up 1 additional battery, or if you can, picking up its Fly More combo, which includes the 2 additional batteries and the charging case like we have here. So let's say, for example, you've flown like I did with all 3 batteries, and they're all between like maybe 20 and 40%. What it's going to do is determine which one has the most battery and take the charge percentage remaining from those other 2 to top off that 1 other battery. That way, instead of having 3 batteries where you can barely take off and get somewhere and come back, you're gonna have 1 battery where you can basically get 1 full flight out of it. This also does have the ability to work as a power bank, but of course, if you wanna fly a lot, you don't wanna take the juice from here to power your other gear. So what I usually do, especially on larger shoots like this, is bring this beefy Anker Prime 20,000 power bank. And this thing can deliver up to 100 watts of charging. And of course, because now we have 2 additional things that we need to charge, the controller and the goggles, it's really great to have one of these along with you. If you're trying to decide on your first drone and it's between something like the Avata 2, an FPV drone, and something that's also priced pretty similarly like the Mavic Mini 3 Pro or the Mini 4 Pro, this is still going to require a bit more of a learning curve. It's going to take you a little bit more time to master. The other big point that I want to drive home, especially as you are a beginner, it takes a while till you realize, okay, I don't need to just worry about what's directly in front of the drone. You also need to be cognizant of everything around you, what's above you. And it's not until you get into your first crash or 2 that you start to really wish you had those additional sensors that you get on those other drones. So in a weird dystopian world where I can only have 1 drone, either the Avata 2 or the Mavic Mini 3 Pro, which would I choose? As fun as this is, I think I'm still probably gonna stick with my Mavic Mini 3 Pro, just because for 90% of the flights that I do, they're a little bit more cinematic. I really do enjoy relying on some of those auto tracking features. That said, if the Avata 2, and I think this is eventually where it's gonna go, became more of a hybrid between what it is now and the Mini 3 or the Mini 4, I think that would be a game changer, because if they could introduce some of those sensors on the side to make it a little bit more safe, as well as, again, those auto tracking features, then you've basically dethroned the Mini series of drones. But it still has the ability to switch into that FPV mode for when you need it to capture those more dynamic shots. But that's been my 1 month with the Avata 2 in a nutshell. A really cool drone that has encouraged me to learn new things, has pushed me to try out new things. A little bit scary at first, but also super fun and rewarding. What do you think about the Avata 2? If you're considering picking up a first drone, would it be this, or would it be one of those more traditional drones? Let me know in the comments. And so even though I've been flying for a number of years, this feels like a completely new experience to me. And even though I haven't even pushed this anywhere near its limits, I know there are still new horizons I can explore. There's definitely a lot more learning involved here, and it's still very niche for the most part. But when you get those amazing shots, when you're tracking your subject, either flying through them, around them, or just trying something completely new, it's super rewarding.